Today, I'm going to be talking about how to find a good real estate agent and how my team finds good real estate agents for our clients when they ask us to. So if you're new to the channel, I'm a mortgage lender. My team's licensed in 50 states. We're one of the top purchase teams in America. I've been a mortgage lender for 18 years, and we didn't really start offering to help clients find real estate agents until about 3 years ago. And the reason we started offering to help clients is because what I was seeing is that so many people were just going with someone they met at an open house, someone that their friend recommended, someone they clicked a button and got a real estate agent. And they weren't working with experienced people, or they weren't working with ethical people. And the thing about real estate is there's not a lot of agents that are actual market experts. In real estate, there's tons of agents, right? There's some random statistic where I believe last year, 70% of real estate agents across the country sold one or less house. That's not a profession, it's a hobby. And when you're buying a house, you want to make sure that you're working with an expert, because whether they're an expert or they barely know anything, you're likely going to end up paying the same amount, okay? Can't stress it enough. And look, if you go on Reddit or some of the chats, you'll see there's a lot of hate for real estate agents. Is it fair? It's tough, guys. It's one of those things where it's like the barrier to become a real estate agent is really low. And look, a good agent, they're amazing. They change lives. I'm telling you, they're so good. They're worth every single penny. But there's so many agents where it is just like a lottery ticket, and that's where all the bad stories come from generally. So I do think there's simple ways to try to put yourself in the best position so that you don't end up frustrated when you're buying a house. When you're buying a house, there's 3 key people that you count on to get to the finish line as easily and stress-free as possible. Also, they should be protecting you guys, okay? Those people are the real estate agent, the mortgage lender, and the home inspector. Yep, the home inspector is important. So with the real estate agent, a lot of times people go, oh, well, I found them on XYZ website. I clicked a button, they showed me the house, they're fine. Whoa, let me tell you how we look for agents when a client asks us. So the first thing we do, okay, I need to dispel something first of all. So if a client asks us to look for a real estate agent, we don't charge the real estate agent a fee. We do not take a portion of their commission. We do not charge the borrower. The reason that we do it is because I want our clients with the best real estate agents possible, because I know that ultimately they'll have a better experience and they'll end up happier in the house if they're working with an expert. There's only so much I can do as a mortgage lender, and having a real estate partner on the team with me that knows what they're doing makes the experience better for you. Once again, we charge nothing, okay? Here's the problem. So right now, let's say you go to Zillow and you go, oh, it's a Premier Agent. Click to work with them. Guys, go to Zillow Flex Pricing for Premier Agent. Because you clicked that button, the agent's giving away, in many cases, up to 40% of their commission to Zillow because you clicked a button. And you're like, but it's a Premier Agent. They must be great. They're giving up to 40% of their commission. Once again, I'll have a link to this because look, I only say stuff that's factual. I'm never gonna misrepresent what anyone does. That's their business model, okay? The issue I have with that is that we're in this new world with the buyer's agreement where you guys are supposed to negotiate with your agent and say, what their commission is, how long you're working with them. But if you don't know that someone else has their hand in their pocket, how can you negotiate well, right? So that's important to note. There are mortgage companies where they say, oh, we have a preferred real estate agent and you'll get $1,000 off your closing costs if you work with this agent. They're getting a kickback from the agent too through another company. They're taking a chunk of their commission. There's not a lot of altruism in real estate right now. I'm hoping that will change, right? I'm hopeful. I'm trying to set an example here, guys. So that's the first thing you need to know is like, if someone's referring you to someone, you need to ask, are you getting a portion of their commission? Is one of your companies getting a portion of their commission? It'll be interesting to see, okay? And you may go, I don't care. They're taking their money, not mine. Once again, the buyer's agreement, but also like, look, do the best agents in markets easily, readily give up half of their income? No. Why would they? Right? Like, look, if someone approached me and said, hey, Jen, we'll send you leads, but we want 50% of your income, I would say no, right? Like, I know what I need to make to pay my team, to make sure everything goes good. Like, I don't want to increase my rates. And also, like, why would I do that? I already get enough business. Okay. And that's the unfortunate part is we'll see like, oh, they have all these great reviews, but they have 50 team members and you're getting someone who got their license last week. Okay. So how does my team look for good agents? We do have software where in most parts of the country, if you say, hey, Jen, I want to look in this state, in this county, I can see who's been selling the most. I can see list side, I can also see buyer side, and then I can see the average price point. So in a perfect world, I want to try to match you up with someone that's selling a good amount of houses. Now, do I go to the person selling the most? Not usually, right? Because most of the time when you dig into those, it's going to be a big team. I like to stay away from big teams. Ironic, because I have a big team, but everyone on my team's super experienced. Look, there are some real estate teams where they have experienced members, but what we see a lot of is we see, you know, you've got one figurehead and then you've got all these junior agents that are brand new. And, you know, if the figurehead's going to be negotiating for you, great. But otherwise, what are you paying for? So I generally, if I'm looking, I want to find someone who's like towards the top, but mid-range. And in a perfect world, it's either the real estate agent directly you'd be working with, you know, one of their showing assistants is fine if they're going to negotiate the deal. You know, we do work with a lot of mother-daughter teams, a husband-wife, it's kind of common in real estate, but I'm looking for that, okay? The next thing is, so once my team looks at that, they try to find reviews. So usually we're going to be looking at 2 to 3 people. We're going to be trying to find someone that has reviews. There's parts of the country where a lot of agents have reviews and it's really easy. There's other parts where no one has a review. It's just not something that happens in that community. Either way, someone from my team, either Wendy, CJ, myself, is going to reach out to the agent because that's the next thing. Numbers and reviews don't mean anything until you actually talk to the person. We've had some where they have great numbers, great reviews. They never call us back ever. And it's like, if I'm calling them saying, hey, I have a fully approved buyer, I want to see if you're a good fit, and they're not calling me back, like, how hard is it going to be for you to get a hold of them? That's always my concern, you know? So when I'm doing it, what I really like is, look, a lot of times agents don't answer their phone, but I love the agent that texts me back immediately. Hey, Jennifer, I just got your message, happy to talk about, you know, or calls me back same day. If someone calls me back 2 days later, I've already moved on. That's not someone I'm going to recommend to you. So I talk to the agent. If I'm feeling comfortable with them, you know, I ask a couple questions. If you're going to need help with closing costs from the seller, I run that by them. I say, look, they're going to need help with closing costs. They're going to need you to get the seller to pay the commission. This is their price range. How are you feeling? And if they're like, oh, that's impossible, I can't do that, bye, I'm going to find someone else. Okay? And we do this until we find usually 1 or 2 names, and then we introduce you. And it's up to you to interview them because we can't negotiate commission. We can't negotiate if they have a transaction fee. We can't negotiate any of that because we're not lawyers. We're not real estate agents. And if I started negotiating on behalf of my clients with the amount of loans that we do and our nationwide footprint, I could be accused of price fixing. I'm not going near that. Okay, so it's your job to interview them and see if you like them. And if you like them, great. If you don't, just tell us, we'll do it again. Now, one of the things that I'll hear sometimes is, do you work with new agents? Yeah, I do sometimes. So look, usually a new agent isn't someone I would seek out because they're not going to come up with the numbers. They're not going to come up with reviews. They're new. The way that we end up working with new agents is if a client works with a new agent, they really like them, we really like them, you know, we will start to refer other clients to them. And what we're looking for is you know, someone who's good to work with, someone who stands up for the client. You protect that client, you've got me. You've got me. You know, someone who's responsive, someone, if they're brand new, they want to learn about the lending process. They want to know what to reach out for. You know, they ask questions, right? We're always happy to help new agents. Like seriously, like I love a lot of the new agents. And you may go, but Jen, they're not a market expert then. Here's the thing. There's some agents that have done a ton of transactions and that's how they've gained their insight into the market. There's other agents that will go to the ends of the earth to figure it out. You know, I've had baby agents, as I lovingly call them, who go to every single open house, introduce themselves to the agent, they walk around the house, they get familiar, they go to broker opens, you know, they're studying the market, they're learning the market, they're actually treating it as a career. So yes, we will sometimes recommend newer agents. We sometimes will recommend agents that don't do a ton of business. You know, there are some agents out there where they're very good. You know, I'm thinking of one right now who's, you know, in Florida, and she's a really good agent. She's really good at negotiating. But if you look at her numbers, you're like, she doesn't sell that much though. She's not good at marketing. No, I mean, look, she's an amazing buyer's agent. She's not good at selling herself, right? But she's really good to the client and she gets them a great deal and she knows what she's doing. So that's how I'm looking for an agent. And if you're like, okay, Jen, I'm not working with you, but I want to research an agent, what should I do? Look, I would start, you don't have the same software as us, but Zillow, for as much as I dislike them, they do have good data. And I would literally type in, you know, top agents in wherever you are. Zillow. And usually they're going to have a list by reviews, but then you want to look at sales. Don't pay attention to where it says top agent or premier agent. That just means money is being exchanged. You know, really go through and look at who's selling properties, because Zillow will show you in many states, not all states, okay? Some states it's a little harder, but they'll show you like the last few houses they sold, you know, when they sold. And if you come up and you're looking at an agent, you're like, oh, there's nothing, check another agent in the area, because there are some states where it's tough to get that data. But I would start there. I would look at the reviews. If they have some on Zillow, I would go to Google. I would search their name. I would go to their social. I would stalk them like I'm going to marry them. And then I would interview a few. That's what you guys need to know as a home buyer. You definitely can and should interview a few real estate agents. People are intimidated and scared by real estate agents, and I get it, guys. Like, sometimes they can be a little scary. Like, I've called a few where I'm like, I've got a great client, everything looks great, this should be good, and they're terrifying on the phone. So I feel you on that. But here's the thing. You should be able to feel comfortable with them, and if you don't, it's not the right person. You will find the right person. And you want to do these interviews where you're like, look, I'm a first-time home buyer. Can we do a home buyer consult? You know, if they're like, not until you sign with me. It's not the right agent. It's not the right agent. All the good agents I know want to do a homebuyer consult with you because they want to make sure you guys are a good fit. It's that simple, you know, and you're not auditioning, guys, just be yourself. But they want to make sure that that they're going to be able to help you, right? Because sometimes people are unrealistic, you know, like if I said, hey, I want a 5-bedroom condo in Miami Beach on the beach for $300,000. Doesn't exist, right? And so if an agent said to me that doesn't exist and I said, well, I want you to find it, like that's not a good fit, right? So agents want to do that as well. So yes, interview a couple, see who you vibe with, okay? It's really important. Make sure you're comfortable with how they communicate or if they'll communicate the way you want. Once upon a time, I had a client in Pennsylvania, and you know, we matched him up with an agent. It was like, right, like the agent was good. It was a good agent. Agent loved to text. Client hates text. Agent would not stop texting to the point where I was like, if you text this client one more time, like I am never going to talk to you again. So then he started calling the client, right? So you do want to let the agent know if you like to talk on the phone or if you prefer text or email, what your preferred communication is and what your expectations are, okay? So really, really important. Don't just go with the first person you meet. Do some research, do some interviews, because this is the person that's going to be negotiating on your behalf. And look, if you are working with me and my team, of course, this is something that we do complimentary for you guys when you're working with us, because we want you to work with experts. And if we introduce you to someone and you don't like them, let's find someone else. Once again, I do not take any money from real estate agents. I don't take money from you guys for this stuff. This is something I do because I want you to be with the best. So thanks for watching, and I hope this video was helpful.